At Progressive, we know there's nothing like the feeling of riding a motorcycle with your crew on the open road. It's a primal, wild freedom, a feeling that would be impossible to recreate on the radio. Until now. Hit it, sound effects guy! No. We really lost our stride at the end there. Get 24/7 roadside assistance with Progressive, America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Roadside assistance subject to policy terms and limits and may require comprehensive coverage.
Welcome to the latest episode of 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app. We're on Red Circle, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and many more apps. We're no longer on Podbean. So we just want to point that out for those who are subscribed there. You're going to have to find it on another app. Although, of course, if you're listening to this, you probably have found it already. Also, check out the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons on 5 Reasons YouTube. That way you get all of our content. I'm bringing back Starting 9 this week. Plenty of Dolphins content. We had pre- and post-game shows off the first preseason game. Also, 5reasonsports.com. 5reasonsports.com. Spell that one out. We do not have a paywall there, unlike the other sites in town. You get the latest takeaways from Brady Hawk and others. And check out the great sponsors of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. We mention this one all the time. It's Prize Picks. That's our official fantasy sponsor. The NFL is back. You got to get in on those props, okay? I know the preseason games don't tell a lot, but you can do the futures props for the NFL. You can also do all of the other sports. No NHL right now, obviously, or NBA, but you can do MLB, MMA. It's all on there. Go to Prize Picks. You can download it on the Google Play Store or on the Apple App Store. It's Prize Picks. Use the code 5, F-I-V-E. You get your initial deposit matched up to $100 when you use that code. And now, tonight's episode.
Down the bitch gang. Yeah. 5 on the floor. Ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing. You can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frauds. Just like Butler said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the floor playing. Got it all banned. Y'all seen the block. Stop with one hand. And Pat we trust. It's power, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat. Y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, and Alex Toledo, plus others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
All right, Ethan Skolnick back on 5 on the Floor on a Sunday night. You may be listening to this later. Here's the floor plan. I got Greg Sylvander. You can find him at Greg Sylvander. I've got Alex Toledo. You can follow him at Tropical Blanket. We're going to do another of our historical episodes today. We got into this on our Off the Floor feed, which is our Winnow feed. You can check that out. That's posted to the top of 5 Reasons Twitter. And what we're doing now is the top 5 individual seasons in Miami Heat history. And so this goes back all the way to the beginning before poor Alex was born. We did not bring in Brady on this one, so for obvious reasons. But here's a few rules, and we're going to make up some other rules as we go along. It can't be 5 seasons of LeBron James and Dwyane Wade. Okay, we don't want to do that. All right, so we're going to limit it to 1 season per player. That's 1 season per player. Okay, so you got to pick his best season. So we're going to start by going through some of the best players in Heat history and then narrowing it down to their best season and just putting that one on the table. The thing that we've got to debate, and we're going to debate this on the air, is whether we include the playoffs or not, because then that becomes a separate conversation. But I almost feel like we need to do that first before we start to narrow it down. And I'm thinking of one Dwyane Wade where this will come up, because if you're going to include the playoffs, it's going to come up with a different season than if you don't include the playoffs. So let's have this debate right now before we start. Okay. And I'll leave this to both of you. Greg, should we include the postseason?
For the sake of efficiency, we should choose one way or the other. But it's funny because I think it does change the conversation a bit. I'm leaning including the playoffs. Maybe as we go through this and you guys dance according to the music that's played. So it is what it is. If we want to go in a different direction, I'd like to call out places where maybe the regular season only would have made its play, but we can go with the playoffs included. Alex, does that sound reasonable? Or do you think we should keep this like the MVP award is a regular season award only? I felt like the MVP lately has felt ridiculous because either the player's home or it's after the fact. and the playoffs tell, as Ethan says. So I feel like we should also include them. But if you have any, if you disagree, I'll defer to you.
It's tough because it's like all of this is about the playoffs and about trying to win a championship. So it feels wrong to exclude that. But I also see what you're saying as far as efficiency, right? From an efficiency standpoint, it would be a lot easier to get through this episode if we just settle, right? But that's not what this show is about, settling. If we just settle for the non-playoff stuff, what are we talking about here, right? Like it's the Heat, it's culture. They're all about championships. We got to include the playoffs. Now, the one thing I will say is maybe it's something like, we weigh the playoffs, but we're not necessarily ranking the top 5 playoff performances ever. That could just be a separate episode altogether, Ethan. Like, especially now during this downtime, we do the 5 best playoff runs ever, perhaps. But I think weighing it into the conversation is maybe how I will go about it.
Yeah, I think we have to weigh it. I think there's one player that this is going to become especially complicated, but I think we should include it. I do think we should include it. So I've ruled. It feels like all 3 of us are kind of on the same page here. And so let's start going through this. I think there is one season that all of us are going to agree on from the very beginning. As much as he had 4 great seasons, there's one season for LeBron James. Okay. It's 2012, 2013, 27-game winning streak. Obviously, he was historically efficient during that period of time. I think, Greg, you and I agree, and I was there for pretty much every game except the one that I went to Costco and he scored 61 because I was getting stuff for my daughter who hadn't been born yet, which is why he scored 61 against Charlotte for exactly that reason, because I was watching it from an aisle there, trying to find the television and trying to figure out if I was going to get home.
A home game off.
Wow. A home game. I only took 3 home games off the whole season, including the playoffs. That was one. And so the way I look at it is that season is for him unparalleled. I mean, we'll talk about other players, but it's also the way he finished it, right? He finished it in 2013. We can talk about Ray Allen's shot, but LeBron was tremendous throughout that playoff run.
Oh, yeah.
He had help during that year for sure, but Dwyane missed some time. Chris Bosh at times, had difficulty integrating, but he was, by far the best player in the league, MVP on an all-time type team. He was brilliant. So I think, with LeBron, are we going to agree that that's the season, guys?
2012, 2013, LeBron James in Heat number 6 is the greatest I've ever seen a human being play the game of basketball since I've ever started watching.
Behind D-Wade 0809, of course.
So, right, we're going. I like that transition that you're trying to jump ahead of here. That's like a Kyle Lowry hit ahead all of a sudden here, coming off the Lowry episode you guys did without me. Yes, the short answer is if it's one of the greatest seasons, if not the greatest season in LeBron James's catalog, then guess what? It also is for the Miami Heat. And boy, we are blessed to have that season in Heat number 6.
Alex?
I'm sorry, I didn't know if you wanted me to jump off there. No, there's no disagreeing there that Bron 12-13 is the consensus best Heat season.
No, but Alex, you hit it. So let's go to it. Dwyane 0809, is that the season? If we're including playoffs, this is where it gets tricky, Ethan, and you were going to tee us up here. And now I'm kind of grabbing the ball and trying to go down the baseline. If we include the playoffs, I think most people's intuitive sense is to say Dwyane Wade 05-06 because of the weight of what took place in the playoffs. If you go regular season, it's more like 08-09 to Alex's point earlier. How do we sift through this, Ethan? How do we choose the Dwyane season?
That's the big problem. So let's do the Dwyane thing now because, this is the whole debate between the playoffs and the regular season. If we're talking about the regular season, there is one, obviously, that stands out. He should have been the MVP over LeBron. We're talking about 2008, 2009. You can make an absolute argument that that is the best single season in Miami Heat history, considering the circumstances and the supporting cast that he had as compared to the circumstances and the supporting cast that LeBron had. Maybe they didn't have the same team success, but again, that was teammates. That was not him. He probably had even more signature moments in that regular season than LeBron did, even though LeBron had a ton of them. But you can go back to the Utah game, the Chicago game. There are so many games that people remember for good reason. He was basically a one-man wrecking crew. I think when you look at small guards in the NBA, that might be the best season in the last. I mean, Steph Curry's there with him, but those two guys had probably the best seasons of small guards in the NBA. Maybe Iverson's 2001.
Oh, Chris Paul 08.
Chris Paul 08 was pretty damn good too. But it's a very, 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 very short list. But it didn't end with playoff success. And again, not his fault, okay, but they got eliminated in the first round like they would the next year. They got eliminated by a so-so team. He was frustrated by it. And so then you have to look at the other season that I think people would look at, which is 05-06, which is complicated because he didn't really have as good a regular season, in my view. He was hurt for part of it. He didn't have as good a regular season, and there were issues. And Stan was fired. He actually had a better season the season before 04-05 than he did in 05-06, but he went nuclear for 2 months in the playoffs and carried them to a championship by scoring 34.7 points in the finals on average. So those are the two. I'm not giving you guys other options. We got 05-06, we got 08-09. Which do we pick?
I'm making the executive decision as Heat fan extraordinaire to say 05-06 because the defensive win shares, it's the best in his career. Win shares, best in Dwyane Wade's career. Win shares per 48, best in his career. It, so all of those things, highest steals percentage, 05-06. So the championship season.
Man, it's crazy because it feels like everybody would say that D Wade was at his best that 08-09 season, right? That's kind of the consensus opinion among Heat fans. But when we decided earlier this show to weigh in the playoffs, it's tough to disagree with you, Leif, right? Because he was not only a great player in that regular season, even though, everybody would say 09 was a better regular season, just how good he was in that playoff run. The fact that was when he kind of turned the corner nationally as a superstar. What you said there, I think, points to the fact that it's easier to compare, I think, some of these seasons when you have teams that are more or less successful, right? Like it's easier to compare Wade's title season versus LeBron's in 2013 than it is to compare Wade in 09 to LeBron in 13. You know what I'm saying? So I actually think that's a really wise decision. Now, I don't have those numbers pulled up, but I do think that if we're just going to have that one D Wade season as representative, then LeBron is probably number one on this list because I think
no, don't go there yet. We're not. No. Don't skip ahead. Don't skip ahead. We're just picking one until we get to the break. Which one are you going with, Alex? You're going with 06.
Yeah, I mean, based on the premise that we set up, we're gonna have to go 06. It's an upset, but we're gonna have to go 06 over 08-09, I think. All
right. So you two are going 06. I might have gone the other direction, but you guys win. It's 2-1. So we got 12-13 on the board for LeBron. We've got 06 for Dwyane. Okay, so now we're looking at some of the other best players in Miami Heat history. And to me, Alonzo Mourning has to be there somewhere. So give me the season, Greg.
This is tough. It's not as close.
Going to be there.
It's 99-2000. Mm-hmm. He averaged 21, almost 10 boards, if I remember correctly, 4 blocks, just a monster. Was second in MVP voting, although Shaq kind of won unanimously. He actually had better chances, better odds of winning the MVP the year prior in 98-99. But for me, defensive player of the year, it was the season where he looked like he had figured out his offense the most and that they could actually run sets through him. Obviously, the playoffs curtailed that season. So this is one where, based off basically the strength of his regular season, the accolades that came with it, Alonzo Mourning's best year, I think, is 99-2000 and would also be one of the top 5 on my list.
All right, Alex is not getting in here. I covered that season. 99-2000 is the clear favorite. No question about it. He was dominant. I mean, he had kind of put the whole thing together at that point with his offense and his defense. His offense was a little slower to come, but by then it did come. And so he was terrific. I think when you take a look at the fact that he almost chased down Karl Malone for MVP, and then I remember being on a road trip in Sacramento, of all places, and he had 37 and 17, and he honestly looked like one of the best. I mean, if not, top 5, like the best player in the world for a short period of time there. And so it's got to be that. To me, that's Zoe's season, and that season has to be included. All right, there are other great players in Heat history. We're going to get to those in a second. Before we do, I want to tell you about another sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, Therapist Preferred. You got to use that code 5RSN. That's the number 5RSN. Get 25% off. That's the tincture, the sports cream, the gummies on your first sign up at therapistpreferred.com. This is for recovery. This is for sleep. Therapistpreferred.com. Everybody has been signing up with our code. That's why they've been with us so long. Obviously, they're getting results from it, and because you guys are getting results from it. So make sure that you check it out. You won't fail a drug test or anything like this. It's perfectly legal in every state. CBD is. So go to therapistpreferred.com. Use the code 5. That's the number 5. RSN.
Surgeons keep our hearts beating. They do the amazing, help save lives, and so can you. Your CSL plasma donation can help create 24 critical life-saving medicines that can give Grandpa the chance for his heart to swell when he meets his new grandson, or give a bride the chance for her heart to skip a beat on her wedding day. Every plasma donation helps more than you know. Do the amazing. Help save lives. Donate today at your local CSL Plasma Center and be rewarded for your generosity.
Progressive is America's #1 motorcycle insurer, so we understand motorcycles. No, really, we have a bike translator.
Okay, this is awkward, but this bike says he'd appreciate it if you removed his skull pattern saddlebags. He feels self-conscious about them around all the other bikes, and he says you're not fooling anyone. You mostly ride with your golfing buddies. Listen, I'm just the messenger here. Oh, no, I don't want to say that. I think you made yourself clear.
Quote with Progressive and see if you could save with America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
All right. Let's just talk about the other great players in Miami Heat history, because obviously a couple of them are going to be eliminated here. All right. We got Shaquille O'Neal. We've got Jimmy Butler. We've got Tim Hardaway. We've got Chris Bosh.
Dwyane Wade, James Johnson. That's right.
I'm not allowing you to do that. Kelly Olynyk, Hassan Whiteside.
Michael Beasley.
Y'all.
Somebody is going to be off the list here, obviously. Okay. I mean, those are the 3 primary, right? I mean, we would talk about Jimmy.
Yeah. No,
Bosh would be the 4th.
3.
I don't think there's a Chris Bosh season, right? Can we just take that off? Okay. All right. So then we're talking about Hardaway. We're talking about Shaq. And we're talking about Jimmy Butler.
We are.
So I know this is hard for you, but Timmy's got to go, right? There's not a Timmy season, is there?
There's definitely a Timmy season if we were doing regular season only. Timmy Hardaway's 96-97 season, just regular season, is as good or better than any Jimmy Butler season in Miami so far as a regular season by itself. He also was, career high in win shares per 48, etc. Got them to the Eastern Conference Finals. He was huge in Game 7, so had big clutch moments that included playoff runs. So because I'm including Timmy's playoff runs here, yes, I concede Timmy falls out here, and we're going to discuss Jimmy Butler instead. But the other guys, they are catapulted into the top 5 for me. Those included Shaquille O'Neal and Alonzo Mourning.
Alex, just do the comp here, because you did have a Jimmy versus Tim Hardaway comp.
Yeah, so, as kind of the prep for the show, just to let everybody know, essentially what I did was pull up on Basketball Reference, comparing single seasons between all these guys that we're mentioning here to narrow down. And one of the comparisons I pulled up was Jimmy versus Hardaway. You guys keyed in on the 96-97 season for him. And then I think the other conversation we're going to have about Jimmy is what season is the one that's representative for him, right? Because we said before the show that his best regular season was the one where they ended up going out in 4 against the Bucks. So it's a little bit tough there. So the one that I ended up going to, because kind of like what I was talking about before, is this past season where they almost got to the conference finals. I think it's more representative of, him having a really good team the whole time. It wasn't kind of 2 different teams the way that first season was, pre-Iguodala and Crowder, post-Iguodala and Crowder. I felt this is the easiest one to do when comparing, guys who were playing on teams that were very good, right? So I think the Jimmy season last season versus the Tim Hardaway season in 97, like Jimmy really blows Hardaway out the water, and in the playoffs it goes even more so. Now, like a lot of Hardaway's numbers are really good here, but it's just to put into perspective how good Jimmy has been for the Heat, right? Like, and we talked about this plenty. Like the guy that he was expected to be, he's been a lot better than that since he's been here, right? Whether you're talking about regular season or playoffs, but specifically playoffs. And I think Jimmy ekes his way into, the top 5 for sure, especially when you're factoring in playoffs. Because, like, my God, a lot of his numbers here, like, they're very comparable to Wade and LeBron, right? Outside of the actual, like, scoring stuff, the way that he does things at such an efficient level, the way that he steps it up in the playoffs, the play style, like, he has played at a tier above, I think, what people expected from him. And just now, like, comparing his numbers to others, it backs that up even more to the type of player that Jimmy's been.
So we got to pick a Jimmy season then, right? So we're not picking the second one for sure. This one, he missed a lot of time. I mean, he missed, right?
Yeah, this is tough because for me, the playoff run that we just witnessed in totality was probably better than the run in 2020. It's just that the finals, the weight of the finals is so huge to this comparison, right? Like, but I feel like him consistently dominating took place in a different kind of way in what we just witnessed at the end of that season, all the way through to the Boston last shot. So I don't know. I guess there's a part of me that thinks that top to bottom, maybe this last season should be the one, but I know that I'm going to get a lot of differing opinions because he went head to head with LeBron James in the finals and obviously showed out. So it's a coin flip.
I'm going to go with the first season. Because of the circumstances of it. It was so new. You were dealing with so much uncertainty, the COVID stuff, coming back into the bubble. And really, look, nobody expected the Heat to be a number 1 seed this past season, but nobody expected the Heat to come out of the East when they were 5th in the conference 2 years ago. They did get all the way to the finals. They did beat Milwaukee. He did go toe-to-toe with LeBron James. I think if maybe he hadn't missed quite as much time this past season, I would lean towards this season, but going the extra round, the more sort of challenging life circumstances of that first year, again, adjusting to a totally new environment and winning the Heat fan base over, I'm going with that first one. The next one to me is easy, and then we'll begin to order these. It's Shaq's 04-05. Probably should have been the MVP over Steve Nash. Much stronger season than 05-06. 05-06, he was hurt. He was feuding with people inside the organization, whether he was hurt and all that. The playoff run, even though they did win a championship, he was better in the previous playoff run. Remember, Dwyane missed time in the previous playoff run, and they overcame it to a certain degree. Well, Shaq missed time as well. But I'm going to go with 04-05. And Greg, I don't think there's really any argument for anything else, right?
Nope. Moving on.
Okay. All right. So if we're moving on, we're going to move on to tell you about water cleanup, and then we're going to order these on the other side. Again, we appreciate everybody coming in with their suggestions on our Winnow feed. We appreciate, obviously, everybody for the signups on our Winnow feed. I do want to make a couple of announcements, too, before I get to this, to this particular sponsor. Is that we're going to start having a Spanish language or a bilingual version of this podcast. So it's going to be a little bit different on this feed. You're going to be able to find it on this feed with Ricardo and Alejandro. You may be familiar with them from Cinco Razones. They used to be on the network there. They're just going to be teaming up for some Heat content with us. So make sure you check that out on the feed. If you're subscribed, you'll get it already. If you don't speak Spanish, it's okay. Both those guys speak English as well, but they're going to be mixing in some Spanish content for those who are more comfortable in that language. So you'll probably start to hear that over the weekends. About once a week, we are going to start putting more content on this feed in general. We also want to tell you again about our great sponsors. That includes water cleanup. If you got a water leak, you can't find where it's coming from, you deal with water or mold damage in your home or business, you got to call Water Cleanup of Florida at 954-579-0356 for immediate assistance. Again, that's 954-579-0356. With over 60 years of combined experience, Michael, Robert, and the team are prepared to handle all types of leak detection issues 24 hours a day, 365 days per year. After the leak has been located and repaired, Water Cleanup of Florida will then clean, dry, and fully restore the damaged areas. Water Cleanup of Florida, fully licensed, insured, and certified to provide the one-stop shopping that busy homeowners and busy business owners require. There's no need to bring in other contractors. They'll handle the entire project from start to finish. Their service area, they're based in Boca, but they service Miami, Broward, and Palm Beach counties. So call Michael anytime on his personal cell. Again, that's 954-579-0356. If you got the schmutz,
they got the guts.
And same for the leaks. All right, so let's get to it. Who's number 5 here, Greg?
Oh, wow. Number 5. Bear with me. I got you.
You guys not expecting me to get you to rank them? We got to go one way.
Yeah, no. Let's do this. I would say that Alonzo Mourning's season is number 5.
Oh. Care to explain?
They lost in the second round of the playoffs to the lower seeded New York Knicks for the 3rd year consecutively. And so, unfortunately, like, that was the end of that era. And the way that it ended, since this is an all-encompassing review of rankings, tells me that if you look at these other seasons and how they ended, it doesn't bode well for Alonzo.
That's why this whole exercise is so tough when you're factoring in, 2 seasons in one, obviously, right, with the regular season and playoffs, because it ends up swaying everything when you're talking about nitpicking between incredible individual seasons, right? Because this whole time I've been trying to figure out where I'm going to have these guys ranked, and I have not come to one that I feel good about between Alonzo, Shaq, and Jimmy, like between ordering those guys right now, because I think, like, I was looking at it, and mid-show I was saying, okay, I think I'm going to have Alonzo over Shaq after looking into it. Well, like, I came into the show with my expectations so high for Shaq's season that it kind of swayed me towards Alonzo. But the more I look into it, like, Shaq was really good at some things that Alonzo wasn't really good at, and vice versa. And it's also the same for Jimmy, who's obviously a completely different player than those guys. But all these seasons, when you look at them statistically and you go into, everything, like, it's very, very, very comparable. Like, you're splitting hairs here. And so it ends up being a tiebreaker with playoff success, right? And, like, Jimmy had the most playoff success, right, in the sense that he got to the finals, whereas the Shaq season was right before the finals. So very comparable with this past Jimmy season, right? But if I had to go and, put money on it, right, in the sense of, like, there's stakes behind it, I'm probably putting Jimmy's season last, because I just think Jimmy's regular season is one where he cruises along the way. So it's tough to weigh it on the same level as Alonzo and Shaq, because I do think some, like, the regular season stuff should be weighed too, in the sense that if you're putting up all that effort to get a high seed, and not that Jimmy doesn't try or anything like that, but you're giving it your all throughout a season and you're absolutely dominant, you're in the MVP race all season, like, there's something to be said for that, right? Now, I think that's what puts Jimmy last for me, because Alonzo and Shaq were just so damn dominant, all year. And I think it's just so impressive to me what they did, right? Where, like, Shaq was a better passer than Alonzo was a better rim protector, but they were both just so damn good. And, like, looking into these numbers, I don't even know who I'm going to pick between them. I'm probably going to go Shaq, though. I think Shaq as a playmaker is what kind of separates him and Alonzo as far as being able to create for others. And although as the playoffs went on, it, became more of a Wade team, I just think Shaq was, one of a kind. And that was really his best season for the Heat by far. We saw what happened after that. And I think it was a masterpiece for him. And it's number 3.
All right. I am going to put Shaq 3rd. I think when you're talking about entry seasons between him and Jimmy, I think Shaq ranks a little higher, even though, again, they didn't get quite as far, but they didn't get quite as far because Dwyane got hurt. It wasn't because of anything that Shaq did. They probably would have won the championship that year. I think they would have been favored against San Antonio. He transformed the entire way that they played. I know that the 03-04 team is fun for a lot of people, but that team won 42 games. It was fun for me too, but I mean, Shaq changed the entire dynamic. And look around what Dwyane and Shaq had that year, and Eddie. I mean, they had Damon Jones starting. Udonis was a first-year starter. There were a lot of unproven players on the bench. Jimmy's season was great. Shaq's ahead of him. So to me, it becomes conversation between Jimmy and Zoe. Zoe was second in the MVP voting, okay, during the regular season. That carries weight. Jimmy went toe-to-toe with LeBron James and almost won in the finals. I'm going with Jimmy fourth. I'm going to go with Zoe fifth, Shaq third. And then we have two choices for number one, and we're going to do that here in a second. Before we do, another great sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, peer-to-peer betting. It's at Better Edge. Go to BettorEdge.com/5 Reasons. That's bettoredge.com/5 Reasons. Here's the thing about it, okay, at Better Edge is that first thing, you get $20 if you go to and use that code. But the second thing is it's free. It's not free, but it's legal, okay? These offshore books are not legal. It's harder to get your money. Better Edge, you can get the line you want because you're betting against other people who are using it. You're not betting against an app itself or against a sports book. So check it out. It's a totally different way to do it. We call it social betting. Go to bettoredge.com/5 Reasons. Again, bettoredge.com/5 Reasons, and you will get the $20 to play. All right, we got two choices here. Greg, did you rank that, by the way, or did I go too fast?
No, the rankings are. I am aligned with the rankings so far.
Okay. So we're at Shaq 3, Jimmy 4, Zoe 5. Although Alex has the 4
I
and
had
5.
Jimmy 5 and Zoe 4.
Okay, so that's where we're gonna go.
Crazy
with.
that I don't think anybody was
right. That the young head would.
No,
but that's okay.
When we pool it, it's going to be Jimmy fourth because it's the two of us. Okay, so we're going. So that's where we're going. So we got two choices, and it's not the conversation I thought we would have. I thought we were going to be debating 08-09 Dwyane against 12-13 LeBron, but now we're debating 05-06 Dwyane because we included the playoffs. And to me, now it's no conversation because to me, this is easy. It's LeBron because it's both the regular season and the playoffs.
Correct.
Right. I mean, LeBron's postseason got overlooked in part because, again, people like he's saved by the Ray Allen shot. Look at the numbers from LeBron's postseason in 2013. They were exceptional. Now, actually, not as good as 2012, but really damn good. And then obviously he tried to carry in 2014 and it didn't work out. But yeah, I mean, it's LeBron, right? If we were debating regular seasons, then Dwyane's 08-09, I might be convinced there. I'd probably lean LeBron, but to me, this is easy.
Yeah. I mean, and also just because of the era, because of the surrounding talent for him to be able to be his best efficient self, LeBron James is one of the greatest, if not the greatest player ever. I don't think that it's a shame to put that season in historical context and because of what it carries ahead of Dwyane Wade's 05-06, because of the parameters we put on this, which is the playoff success, which, 08-09 was great too, but I still think if we were to look deep enough and we were to be honest enough with ourselves, one of LeBron James' regular seasons plus playoffs, and I'm still leaning 12-13 as the overall one, no matter where you slice it, is the best season by any player in a Miami Heat jersey, point blank, period.
You can't argue otherwise, Alex, right?
Disagree. I could definitely argue, and I will argue, because since we changed the D-Wade parameters to 05-06, I've been pulling that season up as a direct comparison to 12-13 here on Basketball Reference. And I'm even, just Wade and LeBron's playoff numbers, right? When you go through all the advanced numbers per 100, per 36, whatever, are so like they're damn near identical on so many things, right? Like there's some slight differences here and there, but my God, like when you go through offensive, defensive box plus minus, and you go through VORP, offensive and defensive rating, true shooting, assist percentage versus turnover percentage, like they're really close to each other, right? Like nobody is really standing out. Both of them won the title.
That regular season, though. What about that regular season?
Exactly. The regular season will be the tiebreaker there in a sense because, that Heat team in 2013 was just so dominant. The best, obviously, regular season team they've had. They won 66, which is so many wins, right? Whereas the other season, 06, did not start off very well. Coach got changed midway through. That's not necessarily a telltale flag of a successful season, but they ended up winning 52, which is more than respectable, right? Or at the very least respectable. And they got to the damn finals and won it. And D Wade did that, not on his own, but he just brought it up to such a level in the playoffs and in the finals. And looking at all the data here, everything supports what we already knew, right? That he was special. And so what I'm saying is there absolutely is an argument to be made here because the 08-09 regular season was more impressive. But man, just looking into that 05-06 playoff run again reminds me that what D-Wade did in his third season just does not get talked about enough, man. Like literally to do that, right? Like we're talking about.
That's true.
We're talking about LeBron James, who is considered to be a top 3 player of all time. He's in the GOAT conversations, right? And we're saying that his best individual season ever was 12-13. And I'm pulling up that data versus D-Wade's third season ever, right? And those playoff numbers are like really damn comparable, man. So like, I don't have any issue with you guys going Brown over Wade here, but D-Wade was absolutely special. So I'm going to go with Wade here, man. Like, I just think Wade put that team on his damn back, whereas that 12-13 team was stacked with great talent. And I know at the end it was tough, like that Spurs, they didn't necessarily look dominant in that Spurs series, but that's why I'm even more, leaning on putting Wade here.
And we love Dwyane more. So I think you're like talking me into it, Alex.
He was the underdog.
Dwyane here.
He was the underdog. So that's the tiebreaker for me. And the fact that they're so damn comparable when looking through the numbers, like it's really incredible to me that Wade did that in his third season.
It's incredible, and it's the greatest 2, 3, 4 weeks that we've seen from a Heat player, but it's not the whole thing.
If I had a time machine, that's where I would go back to.
I can't do it, guys. I think that the bias is coming in here. LeBron James 12-13 is, I saw it all up close. It's one of the greatest seasons in NBA history. It's certainly top 5. Again, Dwyane's finals is there with anybody, okay? But it's the finals, all right? And that's the most important place. But if we're going to do that, we would have ranked Jimmy higher than Shaq. I think we've got to go with LeBron there. I think Greg's nodding here. You guys can't see that because we're not using the video of this one, but I think that's where we're at. I think it's Dwyane 2. Let's start here. It's Shaq. Let's go from the bottom. Let's go. It's 5. I think again, Zoe. 4, Jimmy. 3 up to Shaq
in 04. In 04, 05. And then
2 is Dwyane's finals season, 05, 06. And then LeBron's 12-13 is the greatest in history. All right. Thanks for staying with us. We'll do more of these episodes. We're going to do a big episode on Max Strus later this week. Brady wrote a really nice article there. We're going to explore that. We may do an article on Yurt coming. So we will do some current episodes. We're trying to mix in some others because we know it's slow, people, and we're trying to keep things moving here throughout the summer and into the fall. Have a good night.
Thank you for listening to the 5 on the Floor on the 5 Regional Sports Network.
At Progressive, we know there's nothing like the feeling of riding a motorcycle with your crew on the open road. It's a primal, wild freedom, a feeling that would be impossible to recreate on the radio. Until now. Hit it, sound effects guy. No. We really lost our stride at the end there. Get 24/7 roadside assistance with Progressive, America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Roadside assistance subject to policy terms and limits and may require comprehensive coverage.
Searching for just the right job? Whether you're looking for full-time, part-time, or seasonal work, you can get started today. Amazon Jobs offer the whole package with great pay and flexible shifts that allow you to choose when and how much you work. Find a warehouse close to home and discover the role that works for you. To get your application started for an hourly job, go to Amazon.com/apply. That's Amazon.com/apply. Amazon is proud to be an equal opportunity employer.